2015 training schedule, economic impact and environmental briefing. Colonel?
Well, good evening, Mr. President, council members, and mayor. It's always a pleasure to come back and brief the city of Little Falls on what we're doing at Camp Ripley. Go ahead, Neil, next slide. Obviously, we start out with the way we do every year with our mission, and our mission, simply put, for us is really three things for me, the triple bottom line. We're a federal mission, and that's what we're currently doing all the time. We just received our aviation brigade back from theater. We have 2 units that are getting ready to go back to theater right now. So we continue to do the mobilization mission as required by the federal government. So a lot of that in our federal mission as we get into the season now, and as I go through the months of what we'll be training on, is all really structured around our federal mission. But the second part of that mission obviously is our state mission. And the state mission is ongoing. If you were around Camp Ripley last weekend, you probably saw a lot of helicopters with buckets on. We're obviously well into the fire training right now and fire seasons and we've already been state activated once to go up north with our helicopters and fight fire. And most recently we had soldiers on active duty last week out in response to the H5N5 doing some water operations out in the Wilmer area. So we are out and doing our state mission on a daily basis, and again, a lot of the training we do at Camp Ripley is in response to the governor's needs and protecting the property and citizenry of the state of Minnesota. So we do that mission as well at Camp Ripley, and we're working that all the time. And then my third mission, obviously, and one of my most important, is our state mission, or our community mission, I'm sorry. The community mission is probably one of the most important things I do, getting out and doing what I'm doing right now. Explaining to the residents around Camp Ripley and our neighbors around Camp Ripley what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. So I spend a lot of time in that community mission. If there are things we can do in and within the community, I will be involved in day caring on Wednesdays. So we're constantly in and about the community, and we hope that we're doing enough to support our community in and around the area with all the personnel that live and work at Camp Ripley. Next slide. Our economic impact, this will give you a look at our economic impact over the last 4 years. Again, a number of numbers that I look at personally to see how we're doing out at Camp Ripley. One of them I look at a lot is local contracts. You'll see in 2014 that number was just shy of 2 million. I like that number to be around 3 million. That's money that's going to local contractors working on Camp Ripley, whether that be services or whether that be supplies, things like that. And that's Minnesota contractors working on Camp Ripley. So that number is going to be up this year substantially. As you well know, we're going to have a very, very busy season, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. Probably one of the biggest years we've had probably in the last 5. We're going to have a number of large units coming through Camp Ripley, and it's already started. So we are well into the process of bringing those folks on. Well over 500 contractors, which are already moving into the Little Falls area. I'm sure you may have noticed they're in and about the communities with boatloads of white pickups and running around and getting everything they need prepared for our summer season. Another thing I watch, obviously, is those things that we buy directly from the community, like food. You know, believe it or not, our soldiers eat a lot, and they eat a lot. And they're out there all the time, and obviously the vendors and in and around Camp Ripley, that will be an ongoing thing that I look at. Now, our numbers in construction are going to reduce. We're obviously in budget sequestration at the federal level. We've done a very, very good job over the last 12 to 15 years. The commanders prior to me did very excellent work in figuring out what we needed to position ourselves for the future. So that construction's really happened over the last 10 to 15 years. And now we're going to slow down and go into a little bit more of what I would call sustain and maintenance of what we have as we go into tighter budget years at the federal level. Remember, we're state-owned, but we're 99% federally supported. So that's where that money comes from. Next slide. So here's a look at our training year in May. Now currently, I just came from Camp Ripley where we have all the veterans in that are going to be doing turkey hunting over the next 2 days. So even though we're busy, we still have time to make those activities in the spring happen as well. So the DAV is out there right now and the veterans are going to go out. But these are some of the units that are going to start coming in actually next week. Their equipment's starting to arrive right now. The thing you need to notice about here is obviously these are the first of our noisemakers. So one of the 125 Field Artillery is an artillery unit out of southern Minnesota, and they'll be starting to shoot artillery. So you can expect to hear a lot of impacts in the southern part and the northern part of Camp Ripley over the next couple of weeks now, as we get towards middle to the end of May. Along with that, we have an engineer battalion. They do what's called ground impact concussion. They do a lot of breaching operations, so they're using explosives on the ground. So two different kinds of impacts that you'll hear if you're familiar with the way we make a little bit of noise at Camp Ripley. But towards the end of the month, you can expect us to be pretty loud. Also, on the 15th to the 17th of May, I'll add to the mix of about 6,000 soldiers. I'll add about 5,000 scouts and scout leaders as we do the Ripley Rendezvous, and I think that number is about 3,500 to 4,000 right now coming in, along with the soldiers to do their event that they're going to have at Camp Ripley, and we're pretty excited about that as well. So that will be a busy weekend, the 15th to 17th of May for Camp Ripley. Be a lot of young scouts around, as well as a lot of units training. Next slide. In June, again, we'll go into what's called our Exportable Combat Training Centers. These are full readiness exercises. Our 1st Brigade Combat Team, which is an armor unit, Armor and Bradley units, a heavy mechanized unit, they are getting ready for their full-up rotation to the National Training Center in Fort Irwin, California next year. That's called their ready year. They have to be ready to deploy worldwide by next year. So they're doing that readiness exercise here this year to prepare for next year. So one of the things we're already planning when we move this brigade out to Fort Irwin next year is we'll have over 400 train cars next year in the month of May loading out at Camp Ripley, and I'm already planning those events right now. So all of our heavy equipment will be shipped out to Fort Irwin to support that exercise. So this unit is coming in June, and it's going to be staggered then throughout the month of June, July, and August. Along with this comes a lot of other units. There'll be an aviation battalion out in Nebraska. The 67th Battlefield Surveillance Brigade is another brigade out in Nebraska that's going to be coming in to do its readiness exercise at Camp Ripley. Now you'll see a lot of helicopters in June in and around the boundaries of Camp Ripley. A lot of Chinooks, a lot of Black Hawk helicopters moving up and down the 371 corridor. So you can expect to see that in the month of June. Next slide, please. In July, we're going to continue on with the same exercises. We're going to bring in a armor battalion out of Ohio. That battalion is a tank unit. That's a heavy armor unit, and we'll be on the ranges all summer long. So something that's a little different this year than the past couple of years, we're going to be in a pretty steady state of shooting all this year as we get back into our combat skills. And so as we get ready for these large exercises for our combat power skills, you can see these large units will be on the range the entire time. Now also in July we're going to add the 196th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade. They're a large element out of South Dakota. They're bridgers. So in the month of July, towards the middle to the end of July, we're going to start bridging the Mississippi. And so we'll have bridging boats and bridging units on the Mississippi River. Now we work very closely with the Corps of Engineers and everybody. We don't breach the river and then hold it for a long period of time, and we do a lot of safety work. And this year, I'm a little concerned because we don't have enough water. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more rain, obviously, as many of the local residents do, because it's very dry and the river's very low, and we'll need a little bit more river flow to make that exercise work the best of stability. But with that said, we also use our lakes on Camp Ripley to do that bridging operations as well. So we'll be doing that throughout the month of July. Next slide. In August, again, the second of our large artillery units comes in from Montevideo, Minnesota. So they'll mostly be up north. They'll be up north in what we call the Leech ranges, but they will be doing some of their shooting down south as well as the one of the 145 combined arms battalion out of Ohio, tanks and Bradleys. So again, they're going to be on the range all through the month of August. So what you're seeing is our training year is expanding. It's really going to 7 to 9 months where it used to be, just 3 months. Well, that doesn't exist anymore in our system. We have to be ready to deploy at all times, as you very well know, and we still have units coming in and out constantly through this time period. Next slide. In September, we'll slow down just a little bit, but we head into our fall season. That's when a lot of my law enforcement training that's currently going on right now will return to Camp Ripley in that fall and September area, and we do all of our fall certifications, as well as our annual snowplow training. Everybody around the Little Falls area is familiar with that now. We've been doing that for quite some time, and we bring all the snowplow drivers in from the state, and they go through a full training program at Camp Ripley on snowplow training. Now, we have our biennial open house this year on 20 September. We'd like to invite the community out this year. We're having a very big event again this year. I like to theme that event. My staff's been working on it for quite some time already. This year what we're going to do is we're going to thank all of the first responders and emergency service providers and law enforcement that have done so much for us over the last 10 to 15 years. We often forget that they're out there protecting our property and our citizenry every day for all of the employees. They've kept our families safe while we're deployed, and we just like to thank them at Camp Ripley this year. So that's kind of the theme of my event this year, is that we're really going to just thank all of those local providers that do so much for us. So I hope you can all come out. You're certainly welcome on that day. We'll have all kinds of activities, static displays as well, showing what we do at Camp Ripley, and hopefully culminating in a very, very busy, fun summer. Next slide. In October, my favorite month of the year, I'm not going to lie, we get back out in the field. We do what we love to do as Minnesotans, and we'll get out there and we'll start allowing some more hunting out at Camp Ripley. Obviously, our large archery hunts will be during this time period, our disabled veterans hunts. And then again, an event for us at Camp Ripley is our Court of Honor, which happens in October. And this is where we thank all of those members of the Minnesota National Guard over their careers for what they've done, and we memorialize them into our museum. So we certainly, if you're around and available on the 4th of October, it's a great event. Obviously, it thanks a lot of great patriots for all they've done for their careers in and around Camp Ripley and for the Minnesota National Guard. Next slide. A couple of new facilities we have at Camp Ripley. One that I'm very excited about that just opened, the Medical Simulation Training Center. We call it the Mystic. We are very fortunate to be one of the only guard sites in the United States to receive a full medical simulations training center. And what this thing does is it trains all of our medics for what we call the critical hour. It trains them in full trauma injury. And it is in full, all the mannequins and medics is all in a battlefield simulated environment. It's all simulated. These mannequins breathe, they bleed, they have every symptom that a live body does. And it puts the medical service providers in the position, in the opportunity to save lives. For us, our trauma injuries are our biggest threat. And so being able to train these at Camp Ripley year round has been a very, very good thing for us. And we're very excited about this. And we're also going to offer this then to our local service providers as well. We intend to put this in the ramp of services we have for our emergency service providers to come out and learn with us for those trauma type injuries. Next slide. Our education center, for those of you that were out, that facility opened last week full time. This has been a great addition to Camp Ripley. We are still in the testing phase of all the systems there, but we do have our Regional Training Institute has already moved in there, so we have soldiers in class. We have civilian classes from the state agencies already taking place. The hotel portion of this for our soldiers is open for long term. And then probably for me the most important thing is the dining facility is now open. And that dining facility is capable of feeding about 300 an hour. Just last week alone, we've got 3,600 people through that facility. So that has been an addition for us that's been absolutely critical to keep our mission going forward, is being able to feed multiple groups of people, multiple customer groups at one time on Camp Ripley. Next slide. Our partners, I couldn't do anything without my partners on Camp Ripley. I think you all know Minnesota DNR, that's where the conservation headquarters is for the state of Minnesota DNR. They're currently going through in-service right now, so you've probably seen a lot of conservation officers in and about and around Camp Ripley as they go through their training, and they're a tenant of the installation. The Minnesota State Patrol, again, I caution everybody, if you're driving any kind of fast between St. Cloud and Baxter, then I don't know why, because there's a lot of state patrolmen. All of the state patrolmen in the state of Minnesota are rotating through Camp Ripley for training right now, and the State Rookie Academy is being held right now. So it would be very logical if you see tons of them going up and down the roads right now. And when they're not busy, guess where they're at? Okay? They're training young, aggressive, next generation of our law enforcement providers. They're doing a great job at Camp Ripley, and they're a great host. And they live on Camp Ripley as well. Homeland Security Emergency Management is on Camp Ripley. They have a full-time presence on Camp Ripley now, and we just recently finished a full readiness exercise for one of the counties out in western Minnesota. They brought all of their city planners in and their staff from the county staff, and they went through a full emergency exercise and response exercise, and we look forward to doing a couple more of those this fall. And then obviously I already mentioned MnDOT. MnDOT has a presence on Camp Ripley, obviously with the Emergency Vehicle Operations Course. They're currently using that, as well as the State Patrol is on that course pretty consistently right now. Next slide. Probably one of the most exciting things we're doing right on Camp Ripley right now is our transitions to green technology and green energy. I think everybody probably saw last fall when we announced that we would be doing a 10 megawatt solar field in cooperation with Minnesota Power. That is ongoing, and we are going to start the ground prep for that this fall. So we're looking forward to that. I recently just opened, as I said, the Ed Center. That has a full geothermal field in it, a horizontal and vertical field, as well as my headquarters on Camp Ripley is currently in the process of receiving a geothermal field. So as we move towards these green technologies and reducing our footprint, we're looking at some other things we're working on right now. We are looking at a full microgrid, and also a biomass facility where we can actually, with our timber and our land, be able to recycle a lot of the lumber as it gets to full age, and a lot of the slash that we have when we're doing our works and we're doing wood cuts with the Department of Natural Resources to be able to fuel that biomass plant, thus bringing down that footprint even farther. And then hooking these into microgrids and recirculating generators, and believe me, I'm way over my head right now. Okay, I'm a simple field artillery guy, but it works. It's the way to go, and we're trying to do our part to ensure that we're being green for the future. Next slide. Our environmental partnerships, I simply couldn't do my job without. You see these folks in and about Camp Ripley constantly in the community. Obviously, I mentioned the Department of Natural Resources. The Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources are very instrumental to what I do every day when we're out there working in our native environment. And obviously, I'm along 18.5 miles of the Mississippi River. So that water quality is as important to me as it is to you and to the users of Camp Ripley. So our programs and our environmental programs really empower us to do our mission. And that's the most important thing for me as a commander, is to ensure that we're doing things the right way. Minnesota State College is a university. If I didn't have those interns every year out there doing the yeoman's work out there, doing research on the installation, figuring out what we're doing in invasive species control, what we're doing in looking at how fire affects us and the good things that we can do with our flora and fauna, it would be a much more difficult job. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Nature Conservancy, their goals and ours are not that far apart in many areas. And so when we can partner up with organizations that wouldn't necessarily partner with the military, you wouldn't think are synonymous with the military, like the Audubon Society, we truly are. I have ornithologists right now down in my Arden Hills site that are working on some bird work, and I'll show you here in a minute. We're working on a pretty neat project right now out at Camp Ripley. Next slide. Some of the surveys we're doing right now, and I'll just mention a couple. That golden eagle in the middle has been a pretty exciting one for us. Her name is Ripley. Now Ripley, we didn't know that bald eagle, or the golden eagle, excuse me, would winter this far south. Ripley's been at Camp Ripley now. This is her second winter. And so they got a hold of the bird, the Raptor Center, and the researchers from the Bird Raptor Center came down by Rochester, where they have 2 more golden eagles that have wintered down there, already collared. They came up to Ripley this spring, and they captured this young female golden eagle, and they put a collar on her and put a backpack on her, and they're going to track her, and we currently are tracking her just like they do when they're doing research on her. Now, not only is she the one that's been the farthest north of any gold eagle that we've ever had in the state of Minnesota, she's currently north of the Arctic Circle, and she hasn't slowed down yet. Now, either she's mad at Camp Ripley for put a backpack on her, or we suspect that she is very much a northern golden eagle, and she's going to nest, and she should be headed to her nesting range. The other 2 eagles that they're tracking have now nested, so we'll be watching her, and they're watching her very closely to see where she sets up and actually fledges. So this is very exciting, and then we'll see if she comes back again this next winter. The other one we're working on a lot right now is that one down in the lower right, and that's the long-eared bat. A lot of you may have heard about the long-eared bat. We have the long-eared bats out at Camp Ripley. They are a recently identified threatened species, and so we are working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Department of Natural Resources to do some research and to figure out what that means to the state of Minnesota, because they do live in the timber, and they will have some effect, we believe, on the timber. And so if you see that little white patch in the back, no kidding, we're putting backpacks on these little guys. So they're putting little radio transmitters on them, and they're watching where these long-eared bats actually spend time in the wood structure on Camp Ripley, and then we're keeping a very close eye on what we can learn from that and working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on what that means. So that's another exciting one that we'll be able to report on as we go. Next slide. We can continue our community outreach. We love doing what we're doing. This fall, obviously, the Water Festival comes up. That's a great time. 600 sixth graders from the Morrison County area come out to Camp Ripley and learn why our water is so important and what we can do with our partners. We're doing a lot with ecotourism again now, and then our other events that we have throughout the year. Prescribed burning. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, have seen that we've been doing a lot of that this spring. Very dry. And for me, the one thing that concerns me most as a commander on a daily basis is obviously a fire off the installation. We shoot a lot of live ammunition. We shoot a lot of tracer ammunition, which starts a lot of fires. And we use a lot of pyrotechnics that create a lot of fire. So we prescribe burn normally around 13,500, 14,000 acres. This year we're going to burn just a little bit more of that. If you saw Camp Ripley today, this afternoon especially, you saw a lot of smoke coming from us on the very southern side of camp because we were actually burning some things we don't normally burn because of the fire danger. I have a very, very competent fire department. We have all of the work we do with the DNR in cooperation with the DNR and their fire folks. And I'm very happy to say that we have got almost all of our significant fire hazard down, and we'll be able to train pretty clean this summer. So we're almost done. I'd say in the next couple of days we'll actually complete all of the emission enhancement burns and reduction burns that we need to do. Next slide. The ACUB. ACUB's doing very well right now. We just had our public meeting. Again, we still have a number of landowners very much interested, over 200 landowners. We just received, even in a down year, we just received $880,000 on federal money to be able to execute some of the some more ACUB properties. And we're working with Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council, as you very well know, during the legislative session on the state side. And I think that towards the end of the budget year, we'll see if there's any more federal money that is available for our further use of ACUB. Project's going very well right now. We're currently focused up in the Gull River area, up in the northeast corner of camp. There's some opportunities for us with some both fee acquisition with the DNR as well as wildlife management area buffering up there. So we're kind of working up in that northeast corner, but we're also going to take advantage of small partials depending on, it is all money driven based on what we bring in. So we continue to work with the landowners for conservation easements, and in some cases fee acquisition purchase. Next slide. Other than that, I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a comment as usual. The economic impact that Camp Ripley has on our community, and when I talk community, I'm speaking Morrison County, is rather incredible. And as a local business person, I really appreciate it because when I have conversations with our corporate office, I tell them that we have soldiers in our store just about every day, every week. We just had a crew in there today that purchased about $1,000 worth of groceries from us, and so it has an incredible impact on us. And as you see the spending factor calculated in there, you look at the millions of dollars that are circulated throughout the community. So I thank you for that great job. Very important.
We appreciate it.
I just had one thing. I notice all your burnings during the spring when the migration is coming through, where most of your birds actually, they need insects and plants and stuff to survive so they can get up north. 60% of the birds in the United States travel up to Mississippi for migration. Why don't they do it in the fall versus spring? It probably won't have such an impact on birds coming through.
Well, I will certainly get you an answer for that. I don't have an answer for you tonight. And I hate to speculate again. I take the recommendations of my environmental team on when and how we do that, but I'll take that back to them and certainly answer that question for you.
I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Huh? Thanks, Colonel.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.